Of the CPC Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping as core, and we have made a good progress and solid progress in the disease prevention and control and social and economic performance, and also hit a new record high in terms of foreign trade. According to statistics of DACC, the foreign trade volume 18.07 trillion yuan, up by 27.1%. Among which export reached 9.85 trillion yuan, up by 28.1%. Import reached 8.22 trillion yuan, up by 25.9%. Compared to the same period of 2019, export, import, and two combined increased by 22.2%, 23.8%, and 21.7% respectively. If we look specifically, they show the following 6 features. First, the foreign trade reached a growth in 13 consecutive months. Since June 2020, and we reached a positive growth for 13 months in a row. And second, we see a good momentum in foreign trade. For H1 this year, the trade to the major trading partners, namely ASEAN, EU, and the United States, export 2.66 trillion yuan, 2.52 trillion yuan, and 2.21 trillion yuan, up by 27.8%, 26.7%, and 34.6% respectively. Export to Japan, 1.18 trillion yuan, up by 14.5%. At the same time, the trade with the countries along the Belt and Road and the partners of RCEP increased by 27.5% and 22.7% respectively. Third, the general trade also saw a faster growth. H1, the value of general trade registered 11.19 trillion yuan, up by 30.7%, taking up 61.9% of total foreign trade volume, and increased 1.7 percentage points than the same period last year. Export, 602 trillion yuan, up by 32.1%. Import, 5.17 trillion yuan, up by 29.2%. At the same time, the processing trade, 3.89 trillion yuan, up by 16.8%, taking up 21.5% of total foreign trade. Fourth, we have seen that a solid role played by the private sector. For H1, the private sector registered 8.64 trillion yuan, up by 35.1%, taking up 47.8% of total foreign trade, 2.8 percentage point increase than the same period last year, still maintaining its role as the biggest foreign trade entity. At the same time, the foreign invested enterprises registered 6.61 trillion yuan, up by 19%. The state-owned enterprises registered 2.85 trillion yuan, up by 23.8%. Fifth, if we look at the proportion of the electromechanical exports increased. In H1, 5.83 trillion yuan exported, up by 29.5% in terms of electrochemical products, taking up 59.5%, 0.6 percentage point higher than same period last year. Export of auto processing equipment, cell phones, automobiles increased by 17%. 23.3% and 101.4% respectively. At the same time, the labor-intensive products increased by 17.1%. The medicine, the medical equipment increased by 93.6%. 6. Iron ore, natural gas, and other commodities also saw growth in imports. For H1 this year, the iron ore 561 million tons, up by 2.6%. Natural gas 59.89 million tons, up by 23.8%. Soybean 48 million tons, up by. Corn 13.5 million tons, up by 300%. Wheat 5.368 million tons, up by 61%. At the same time, the import of crude oil 261 million tons, fell by 3%. All in all, based on all these performance, the foreign trade continued the good momentum from the second half of last year, so a faster growth, and also laid a solid foundation for the high quality development and opening up. Going forward, GACC will follow the Xi style and socialism with Chinese characteristics and implement the speeches given by General Secretary Xi in celebration of the 100th anniversary of the founding of the Communist Party of China, and we will further implement the new development philosophy, implement the spirit, and also to implement the measures to maintain security in the 6 areas in order to ensure stability on the 6 fronts, and also strengthen our efforts to optimize our work and make sure that we'll contribute to a good start of the 14th five-year plan in the development of foreign trade. Now I would like to take your questions. Thank you very much, Mr. Li. And I'll come to the Q&A session. Please identify your media affiliation before asking questions. CMG CCTV. In your brief introduction, you mentioned that foreign trade in H1 actually registered a 2 digital increase and also make it a 13 months continued increase. So what's the reason behind? And my second question is whether our foreign trade can continue the same momentum for the second half of this year. What's your forecast? Thank you. Thank you for your question. H1 this year, China's domestic economy saw a progress while maintaining stability, and the foreign trade also realized a faster growth. H1 this year, 18.07 trillion in terms of foreign trade volume actually was a historical high. Compared to the same period, 2019, increased to 22.8%. And for monthly foreign trade, actually, we have saw a 13 months growth in a row, which further solid our achievements in foreign trade. To be specific, the reasons behind to drive this growth, I would like to say the following. First, domestic economy has seen the good progress while maintaining stability, and market entities also maintain the vitality, which provide a propellant to drive the growth of foreign trade. For H1, China's economy also saw the recovery, and we see the added value of the industries and the total retail sales of consumer goods and the other key economic indicators all show the good signs, and also see the needs of demand also increased, which also laid a solid foundation for foreign trade. And also country continued to issue the policies to benefit market entities, and also see the new models and the new industries right now also release their potentials. For H1, in the comprehensive bounded zone, their foreign trade increased by 29.1%. Free trade zone increased by 32.1%. Hainan Free Trade Port increased by 46.1%, all higher than the average growth of foreign trade volume. At the same time, the cross-border e-commerce also registered 28.6% growth. The purchase exports also increased by 49.1%. For H1, the enterprises with foreign trade reached to the 479,000, increasing by 36,000. Foreign trade import and export of China actually contribute to the stabilization of the global economy and a global industrial chain and supply chain. And we also see the recovery in the international landscape, which drawing up the needs of the foreign economy. World Bank also continue to increase the world expectation. IMF also increased its forecast to 6% of the world economy, and World Bank also upgraded its expectation to 5.6%. And the world economy recovery actually also boost our foreign trade as well as the world economy recovery. To United States, European Union and ASEAN increased by 31.7%, 25.5%, and 27.8% respectively. To Latin America's Africa's our exports also grows by 47% and 27.7% respectively. Last year, because the comparison is quite low, so that also certainly play its role in driving the foreign trade. Last year, the size of foreign trade volume dropped by 3.3%, equaling to the level of 2018. The price of the commodities also showed the uprising trend. For example, at the end of June, CRB index reflecting the stability of the commodities actually increased by more than 25% compared to the lowest place of last year first half. Actually, the number doubled. Because of these factors, our import price index was 108.5, contributing 35.4% to the foreign trade volume. As you mentioned about the momentum in the second half of this year. Right now, we're still seeing the pandemic is wreaking havoc and also bring the grave and complex situation, which are also imposing uncertainties and instabilities. Last year, H2, the foreign trade increased by 27% compared to H1 last year. So the base number actually is larger. Therefore, we may see a little bit slow down the growth rate of the H2 foreign trade, but we still will see that we will see a growth number for the second half of this year. Nikkei. We only see the decrease number in the import of crude oil, while others are all increasing. So what's the reason behind? As I introduced in my opening remark, the commodity price actually showed a faster growth. Let me show you a set of numbers for your reference. Since the second half of last year, the crude oil, our oil, we saw a rapid growth in price. Based on GECC's number, H1 this year, our average price of crude oil is 2,885 yuan, up by 20.5%. Our oil imported price 1,075.8 yuan, up by 67.3%. It is clear that right now that China is consolidating its achievements in the foreign trade while pursuing further progress. In recent days, the State Council also made a plan in supplying commodities while maintaining stable price, which will also deliver the benefits to the markets home and abroad. We believe that the price increase in commodities is just for a temporary period that may impact the COGS of the enterprises, but overall the situation is under control. BTW. As you mentioned, that the private sector still play its key role as the biggest foreign trade entity. So what's the reason behind and what's the features demonstrated by the private sectors? Thank you for your questions. And we have seen the more driving forces in the foreign trade growth, and also we have seen that the private sector right now really played its role and also bigger role. And for the private sectors, registered 8.64 trillion yuan, increased by 35%. Export 5.59 trillion yuan, up by 35.6%. Import 3.05 trillion yuan, up by 34.3%, and taking up 47.8% of foreign trade volume, and its proportion also increased by 2.8%. I believe that we can understand the private sector in the following features. First, they showed more resilience and also the vitalities. So they can have a quite flexible production plan and seizing the market opportunities immediately, and also make a fast response to the global and domestic needs. That is why it's released a more vitalities. We'll talk about foreign trade, import, exports increase 8%, 7.5%, and 8.4% higher than the average. Talk about the laptop, the computers, and the medical equipment increased by 46.2%, 38.7%, and 70.8% respectively. The iron ore, cotton, and cosmetics import value increased by 66%, 65.2%, and 38.8% respectively. Second, the private enterprises with actual import and exports also saw a big increase. 397,000 enterprises with foreign trade, and also 37,000 company more. Third, we also saw a more balanced landscape. The growth rate of private companies in the central and the western part of China registered 44.6%, 9.5 percentage point higher than the average growth of private sectors. For the top 10, 8 comes from central and the western part of China. Fourth, we have seen that they actually also invite more energies, expanding markets. The European Union, the United States, Japan, and the ROK, the exports increased 31.4%, 45.7%, 19.8%, and 28.3% respectively. The total volume of foreign trade with countries along the Belt and Road countries increased by 34.5%. To European Union, the trade increased by 37.3%. Thank you.
你好，香港商业电台记者提问，想问一下5、6月份的时候，广东的疫情以及到
Hong Kong Business Radio, I would like to ask about the factors like the cluster of the infections in Guangdong and other emergency cases happen, how that impact the overall trade, foreign trade. The second half of May, we have saw the infections happened in Guangzhou and Shenzhen. And also we have saw the stock on ports. Based on our observation, that the stock actually also caused some the instabilities to the companies related, and also the overall price level. Right now, the situation has been improved. June 24th, Yantian Port, and now back to the normal order. The berths also in operation. For other ports, right now is also undergoing a normal operation. Regarding the stocking ports situation, on top of implementing the requirements of a port operation, and also dispatch additional teams to make sure that the efficiency in clearance at the port. And the custom in Shenzhen actually also created a way in logistic clearance and also dispatch the needed items. And they also optimize the industrial chain and also ask for the more advanced application, and also provide the integrated process in order to improve the efficiency and time needed for clearance. And also play a bigger role in lower the burden on the port work. Guangzhou also worked with relevant departments, initiated the emergency plans, monitored the clearance work, and also mobilized the necessary resources to speed up the clearance. For the ports at the southern part of China, the companies can finish all the process within 1 hour. So there is no held of work at the custom. Going forward, we'll continue to optimize the business environment at ports and also maintain the steady work and also provide a good service. Thank you. CNBC. I have two questions. The first question regarding the exports, automobile export to the European market. Would you please elaborate more on this regard? And second, regarding the cross-border e-commerce, would you please talk a little bit more about the situation in Q2, especially in June? Thank you. Regarding China-EU trade, I have set up a number for your reference. China and the EU are the key trading partners with the high complementary. A good trade relationship really benefit the people at both sides and also can go against the global challenges and contribute to the global economic recovery. Based on the statistics from the GACC, the bilateral trade is 2.52 trillion yuan, up by 26.7% year-on-year. Exports 1.51 trillion yuan, up by 25.5%. Import 1.01%. 1.01 trillion yuan, up by 28.5%. It's fair to say that the proportion of trade with EU by 30 is taking a 38.9%, and European countries is the second largest trading partner, just next to ASEAN. And also our trade with EU also maintained a good growth in 15 consecutive months, and right now it's realizing the double-digit growth. Also the electronic mechanical products and also the more than 15% of the labor-intensive product exported to EU, and as you mentioned, that the 35% of the imports actually from EU, including automobiles, as you mentioned. I believe that also showed resilience and the energies undergoing between both sides. Regarding your second questions, I already cited the numbers in my opening remarks. Thank you. Nanhua Zaobao, Hong Kong. My question regarding China-US trade relations. So there's a procurement quota actually formulated in the China-US economic agreement. So how's the progress? For the bilateral trade between China and the US, is registered 2.21 trillion yuan, up by 34.6% year-on-year. Export to US 1.64 trillion yuan, up by 31.7%. Among which electronic and mechanical products 1.01 trillion yuan, up by 34.2%. Labor-intensive products 372.2 million. Based on the numbers, the laptops, the textiles all showed a good momentum. 43.9% increase in our imports from US. 238.8 million imported from US in terms of mechanical and electronic products, and also agricultural products increased by 21.8% from US. As you mentioned, the phase 1 agreement implementation, relevant departments already showed the China stance. There's no further information. Thank you.
谢谢主持人。中国日报记者提问，请问能否请您
介绍一下
上半年我国与“一带一路”沿线国家贸易的具体情况，有哪些亮
My
点？
question regarding the foreign trade with countries along the Belt and Road. Thank you for your question. Since the launching of Belt and Road Initiative, our trade with these countries are ever closer. So last year, in the face of the severe impacts brought by COVID-19, we worked with the countries along the routes, worked together, overcame the difficulties, and right now we're seeing the good progress made. In H1 this year, our total volume of foreign trade with countries along the BR is 5.35 trillion yuan, increased by more than 30%, 0.4 percentage point higher than the total growth rate, taking up 29.6%.
3.03万亿元，
Export 303 trillion yuan, up by 29.1%.
2.32万亿元，
Import
增长
2.32
25.6%，
trillion yuan, up
主要
by
呈现以下两点。
25.6%, showing the following features. First,
与东盟、
we have seen a
印度、
more
阿
frequent
联酋
trade
等沿线国
with
家进出
ASEAN,
口
Indian,
均实
and
现快
UAE.
速增长。
Exports also the rapid
上半
growth.
年，我国对“一带一路”沿线的
H1
东盟进出
export
口
to the countries
2.66万
BRI
亿
to
元， 增
ASEAN
长 27.8%。
2.66 trillion yuan, up by
其中对越南、
27.8%.
马来西亚
To
分别
Vietnam,
增长
Malaysia
30.7%、
increased by
33.1%。
30.7% and 33.1% respectively. To
分
India,
别增长
UAE
50.5%、
increased by
32.8%。
50.5% and 32.8% respectively.
进
To
出口
Portland,
分别
Turkey,
增长 40.6%、
foreign trade increased by 40.6% and 39.4% respectively.
钢材、
Second,
汽
the
车
stay-at-home
等出口
economy,
表现亮眼，
steel, automobiles
成为
all
拉
show
动
strong
我国
momentum
对
in
沿线国
export,
家出口增
playing
长
a
的重
key
要
driving force
上半
in
年，
our trade
我国
with
对
the
“一带一路”
BRI
沿线
countries.
国家出口
H1
电脑、家用电器、
laptop,
家具
export of
等
laptop,
宅经济
home
产品
appliance,
合计
furnitures,
1873
other
亿元，
stay-at-home economies
增长 35.1%。
registered
出口钢材
187.3 million yuan
1278.7亿元，
steel,
增长 47.8%。 出口汽
120
车及零部
million
件
and automobiles and
1050.2 亿
parts,
元，增长 50.6%。
105.2,
出口医药材及药品
54.6%,
425.6亿元，增长 95%。 三
and
是能源、
42.56
矿
billion
产等领域
yuan.
合作加深，进口原油、农产品、
Import
金
of
属
crude
矿砂
oil,
等
agricultural
稳步增长。
products,
上半
metals,
年，
all
我国
showed
自
a
“一带
good
一路” 沿
progress.
线国家
For
进口原油
H1, our import of crude oils
5114.6亿元，增长 15%。 进口农产品 1625.4 亿元，增长
billion yuan,
30.9%。
and
进口金属
crude
矿砂
oil increased by
1091.6
30.9%.
亿元，
The
增
iron
长
ore
56.6%。
increased by
此外，进口煤炭
56.1%.
585.8亿元，
Import of
增
coal
长
increased by
38.5%。 进口铜材
38.5%.
520.5亿元，
Import of
增
copper
长
increased
40.6%。
by
四是中欧
40.6%.
班列优势凸显，为稳定与沿线国
China
家贸
EU
易
free trade
发挥了
also
重要
played
保障作用。
its strengths.
中欧班列以安全稳定的
China
独
EU
特
free
优势，
trade
在疫情期间，对保障我国与“一带一路”沿
also
线国家
played
的
a
物流
key
畅
role
通
in
发挥
stabilizing
了重要作用。
the
国界提出
impeded
的数据
flow
显示，
of
今年上
products
半
and
年
goods during
中
the
欧班
COVID
列
time.
累计开行7377列，发送70.7万标箱，同比分别增长
707,000 TEU have been delivered,
综合重
increased
箱
by
率达
52%,
98%。据海关统
and
计，
7,377 trains
我国
have
以
been
铁路运
dispatched.
输方式对“一带一路”沿线国家进出口2097.8亿元，增长 43.1%， 增速比水
Foreign
运、
trade
公
to
路
the BR
空运
companies
进出口
via rail
分别快了
registered
15.3个、
209.78
13个和
billion yuan
21.3
and
个版本。
increasing 43.1%, higher
不
than
是
the
中
other
西部地
means.
区加速融入“一带一路”建设。
Fifth, the central and the western part of China also joined the A foreign trade with the A Belt and Road
对
countries.
“一带一路”
For
沿线国
H1,
家进出
the
口
central and the western part of China's
增
trade
长了
registered
30.3%。
1.02 trillion yuan, increased by 30.3%, taking up
19%。 较去年同期
19% of
提升
the
了
foreign trade
0.4
with these countries, 0.4 percentage point higher than same period last year. Guangxi,
云南、
Chongqing,
安徽、湖
Yunnan,
北
安徽、
等中西部省份
Hubei,
与 沿线国家进出口增速
provinces,
均超过了
their
30%。
foreign trade grows higher
今
than
年以来，海
30%
关总署
to the
认
BR
真贯彻
countries.
落实习近平总书记重要讲话精神，全力
We
推广
earnestly
智慧海
implement
关、
the
智能边境、
General Secretary
智享
Xi's
联通的
speeches, and also would like to integrate the
与
smart
比利时海
ideas
关
to our
共签
work
了合作备忘录，
with Belgium.
打造
Customs
3
also
制理
signed
念落地
MOUs in
欧洲
order
的
to
首个
build
示范项目，
the first
大力
pilot
支持
projects
中欧班列发展。6月底签署了
in
中
Belgium.
国与
By
白
the
俄
end
罗
of
斯
June,
关
also
铁通
signed
项目议定书，
the
进
China
一步
with
推广
Belarus
关铁通合
freight
作项目。下一步，海关总
cooperation.
署将继续
Going
落实
forward,
“十四五”推进
GACC
一带
will
一路
continue
高
to
质量发
implement
展
the
海关
14th
工作
five-year
方案，
plan
打造
in
更
order
多
to
共
pursue
建
the
一带
high
一路
quality
的亮点，
development
推
in our
动“一带
work
一路
and
建
also
设
build
高质
new
量发展。
highlights in our work and also contribute to the high quality development of Belt and Road Initiative. Thank you.
You spoke earlier about the disruptions in Yantian port. Can you give us an actual figure about how much trade was disrupted or how much exports didn't happen because the port was shut for basically the whole month of June? And secondly, there's been an increasing number of outbreaks of COVID, especially the Delta variant, on ships globally. Do you expect this is going to further disrupt trade in the second half of the year? Thank you.
我有2个问题。第一个问题呢，您之前提到了盐田港的问题，那么这个盐田港的相关的这个措施呢，究竟是在多大程度上影响了中国的出口以及中国的外贸？您能不能给我们介绍一下相关的影响在6月份的相关的数据？这是第一个问题。第二个问题呢是关于这个疫情的。我们知道Delta 疫情在世界各地蔓延，您认为在今年下半年，这新的这些疫情在多大程度上将会影响贸易？谢谢。
刚才我已经回复了关于广东堵港相关的
Thank you.
海关采取的
Just
相
now
关
I
措施。
answered a question
因为盐田港
regarding
的
how
疫情
custom
所造成的
dealt
全世界
with
运输市场的相
the
应的波动，
outbreaks
相
in
关
Yantian
主管部门
port.
已经做过相应的有关发布。第二个问题是
And
关
the
于
relevant
疫情的
departments
影响
already
对
released
外贸的
information in this regard.
影响。
Second, regarding how the COVID-19
Saturday.
impact foreign trade.
随着全球疫情的
As I mentioned, started from H2 last year, we have seen the revisit of the cases, which may import some uncertainties to our foreign trade. But overall, we still say that we will see a rapid growth of our foreign trade in second half of this year.
谢谢先锋紫金杂志记者提问。按照海关总署的最新规定，那么跨境电商 B2P 的那个出口试点
Regarding the
即将在7
cross-border
月1号在
e-commerce,
中
the
国推开。
B2P
那么想请问
pilot
试点实
projects
施
will be
1年来的
rolled
效
out
果
in
和下一
China.
步推开后呢，怎么样进一步
I would like
促
to
进
know
跨境
that
电商的
how the pilot project
谢谢你的提问。
has gone in the past 1 year and how you can roll out. Let me give you another set of numbers.
上半年，我国跨
Based
境
on
电商
GACC's numbers, for H1 e-commerce, cross-border, foreign trade maintained a
跨
good
境电商进
momentum.
出口8860
Foreign trade in this regard,
同比增长28.6%，
886.7 billion yuan increased by
6636亿元，增长
28.6%.
44.1%，进口2831亿元，增长4.6%。
603.6 billion yuan for export increased by 44.1%. Import 283.1 billion yuan, up by 4.6%.
跨境电子商务
In order to further boost the growth
助力企业
of
更好地
e-commerce
开拓国际市
in a
场，
healthy manner,
在总结
and
共
also
贯
help these
前期
companies
工作做法
to
和
expand
成效
further the global market.
海
We'd
关
like
总
to
署
consolidate
近日
our
发布海
achievements
关
so
总署
far,
关于在
and
全国海
also
关
the
组织
AGACC
推广
recently
跨境
released
电子商务
a document regarding rolling
出口
out
监管试点的公告，也就是海关总署公告
the
2021年
cross-border
4月17
e-commerce
号。
as our 47 number 47 documents,
复制推广跨境电子商务
and we will
企业
roll
对
out
企业出口监管试点，也就是我们所
and
说的
B2B
跨境电商 B2B 出口监管试点。自去年
cross-border
7月1日
export
起，海
supervision.
关总署跨境
Since
电商
July 1st
B2B
last year,
出口监管改革试点
B2B
已满1年，取得
pilot
了明显
projects
成效。
already rolled out for
主要
1
体现
year.
在一是深
harvesting
化
a
企
good
业
progress.
通关便利，
First,
二是创
we have
新
seen
海外
at
商
the
出
a
口
fast
监管，
clearance,
三
and
是
second,
积
that
极拓展
a
物
fresh
流渠
way
道，
of monitoring,
四是强
and
化
third,
监管，
we
严
expand
防风
the
险。
a logistic channels, and the
跨境电
first,
商 B2B 出
fourth,
口
we
监管
also
试
the
点
a
的推
tighten
广
our
实施，
management
将
to
对下
prevent
阶段
further
跨境电商
risks.
发展
We
起到
believe
促进作用，
that this will
有助于
lay
跨境
solid
电商企
foundation
业降本增效，开
to
拓
further
国际市
grow
场，
the
有助于
e-commerce and
促
also
进地
lower
区
the
间
costs for the
跨境电
companies
商的均
and
衡发展。
expand the a global market for them, and also will see the a balanced landscape of cross-border e-commerce.
谢谢主持人。每日经济新闻记者提问：请问今年以来，海关总署
Economic
在
Daily
促进外贸发展方面采取了哪些举措？目前取得了哪
What
些成
measures
效？
have you taken to boost the growth of foreign
谢谢
trade,
你的
and
提问。
what's the result?
今年以
Thank you
来，
for your
海关
question.
总署以习近平新时代中国特色社会主义思想为指导，
Guided by Xi Jinping's thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics, for a new era, we implement the spirit of the a government work report and the a central economic work conference. We'd like to adhere to the principles to optimize the business environment at port and strive for higher quality development of foreign trade, and also to improve our service and improve the efficiency of the a clearance work in order to better provide service to the companies. And first, we continue to optimize the business environment at ports. And we had a specific campaign in Beijing, Tianjin, Shanghai,
8个城市，
in total 6
集中开
cities,
展为期
6
4个月的
provinces,
专项
8 cities,
会同相关部门
conducted this
共同推
campaign
出
for 4
18项
months,
改革
work
创新
with
措施，
relevant departments,
聚焦市场主体关
release
切，
18
对标国际先
policies,
进水
we
平，
focus on the needs
会
of
同相
market
关部门
entities
研
and
究技
also
巧，进一步
benchmark
深
to
化跨境
the
贸易
most
便利化
strict
改革，优化口
standards
岸
and
营商
also
环境
to
的措施，
facilitate the
正按程
business
序
and
报批
also
后
to optimize the
等
environment
出
at
台实
ports.
施，继续落
And
实
we will further
坚
roll
定
out
规范海运
these
口岸
campaign to
收
other
费制度
places.
方案，指导地
And we
方
also have
认
the
真落
a
实
fee
口岸收
charged
费
projects.
目录清单公示制度，
So we have the a
深化国际
catalog
贸
that
易
will
单一
be
窗口
available
战
to
术，
the public,
单一窗
and
口
also will
实
establish
现
a
与
single
25个
window
部门
for
系统
all
对
the
接
a
和
processing,
数据共享，
so that basically
上
will
线
share
18
the
类
data
基
and
本服
also
务功能，
to work with
提供
25
服务事
departments,
项700
and
多
also
项，
will upload the
基本
services
覆盖
online,
口岸执法领域。
so that
二是
basically
进一步
covering
简
the
化
all the
通
a
关作业流程，
law enforcement
紧扣
items,
高质量
and
发展，
second, we
推进
shortened
海关全业务领域
clearance
一
time
体化改
needed,
革，积极推
and
动
we
各
also
业
roll
务
out
领
the
域的
integrated
跨关区协同
reform in our work, and
强
also
化业
we'll
务
see
结
more
合部协调联动，
synergy
提高
created
系统集成水平，
across the board,
简化备案、审批、申报、查验等
and
海
for the
关作业流程，
application, checking,
全面推进
the
两
a
步申报、
process need at
提
the
前
border,
申
we'll
报、
also combine
绿
them
色通
as
道、
needed.
免
So
到
we
场
will
查
also
验、
open the agreeing
预约查
channels
验、
and also
优先
the
查验等便利化
the
措施，
checks by
提高
a
通关
booking
效率，
and also the a
大力推动
booking
企业集
by
团加工贸易
priorities
监管，
and other services
加工贸
available,
易、残次品销毁处置等
processing
改革工
trade,
作，不断优化
and for the
监管
sub
模式，
quality products, we'll also under our monitoring for the
搭建
the
中国海关
diminishment,
信用管理微信
and
平
we'll
台，
also establish the a
建立问题
WeChat
清零
official account
主
for
动为进出口企业排忧
credit
解
checking, and we will do whatever we can to clear the troubles
扎实推
bothered
进
our
跨境电商
companies.
试点建设，优化跨境电商零售进口商品退货，
We also help to optimize the
全
a
面复制推广跨
working
境电子商
process
务退货
regarding
中
the
心
cross-border e-commerce, And
深入
also
开展打击
we will
跨境电
establish
商
the
进
a
出
workshop
走私
for the
锻
cross-border.
炼刨根专项整治行动，促
And
进
we
跨
will
境电
also
商健
initiate
康发展。
campaign to the
同
a
时，
tackling
积极
the
促
smuggle.
进市场采购贸易试点健康发展，指导新设市场采购
And we
贸
will also
易试点
establish
主
the
管海
a
关加强
warehouse
宣
for
传，
returns.
完善
And
海
we
关
will
监管流
also
程，
advocate the a
配合地
companies
方
and
主管部
also
门，
to improve
尽早
our
开通
process needed
市
at
场采购
ports and
出
also
口业
work with localities to
四是积极服务
provide
打造
service
高水
regarding
平对外开放平台，
a
大力支持
exports.
海南自由贸易港建设，推动
And
零
we
关税
give
政
great
策制度
support
落地
to
实施，
Hainan Free Trade Port
围
in
绕
order
落
to
实
see the zero
中
tariff
经济协同
policies
发展、长三角一体化国家
implemented.
战略，
And for
积
the
极指导
a
自贸试验区海
national
关
strategies,
开展集成创新、协同创新，推动综合保税区创新升级，
we'll also give our
支持新
contribution
设陕西
to
杨岭、
execute
湖北襄阳、
and exercise
重
all
庆
these
万州
strategies.
和
And
海口
Shanxi
空港等
湖
4
北
个综合保税区，积极支
and
持
the
进
other
博会、
two, in total
报销
4,
会、
the comprehensive
冬奥会
bonded
等
zones
重大
will
展
also
会
be our focus.
全力
And
做
for
好
the
进出
key
境展览品
exhibitions
的
will also
相关
our
监管
focus.
和服务保
And
障。
we will also to provide the guarantee
靠
for
稳
the
周大的
clearance
同
of
时，海
the
关毫不
goods
放松，抓好
for
常
these
态化
large-scale
走完疫情防控，
national level exhibitions.
坚持人物同防，坚决筑牢
We
外
will
防输
also
入
make
的
sure that it
口
will
岸
prevent
疫情
the
防控。
imported case of COVID-19, and we will check on human beings as well as goods. The two last questions.
谢谢主持人。我想请问一下，也提到了民营企业的外贸出口的情况和跨境
As you
电商。
mentioned about the
那么
a
这跨境电商
trade,
民营企业
a
的
lot
占
of
比大概是多少？
private sectors as well as e-commerce. I would like to know the proportion of private sectors have been taken in terms of
那还有
e-commerce cross-border trade.
PMI 的新出口订单指数的变化。
And also would like to know the PMI order changed in May and June, how you understand and interpret the numbers in May and June. Thank you.
刚才
Thank
讲
you for
到
your
了
question.
PMI 的相关的一些数据，
As
我
I
们也
mentioned
是在
about
跟踪
the PMI numbers,
统计
we
的
put a very close eye
发布的最新的有关的这个
on the PMI changes and also followed a updated economic performance number released by the relevant departments. So far, we could say
都向好，相应的这个有一些
that
波动
the
变化
economic performance maintained
我相信对外贸这
its
方面
stability while pursuing progress.
深度的进一步的分析。至于跨境电商的最新的数据，
And we also started the changes in foreign trade. Regarding that the numbers in the e-commerce cross-border trade, we will also update that numbers
相关的一些数据，
on our official
放到
website.
海关的相关网站。
So you can check our official online for more detailed information.
刚才提问，界面是吧？好，最后一个问题。
谢谢，凤凰卫视的记者，想请问一下，今年上半
Phoenix
年中国
TV
的新冠疫苗对外出口的情况如何？那海关方面
I would like to know the export number of COVID-19 vaccines and what kind of measures have you taken to ensure a faster clearance of vaccines?
积极参与世界卫生组织
In order to
新冠疫
create
苗
a
实施
shared
计划
future of
在
health
自
for
身需求
mankind.
巨大、疫苗供应十分紧张的情况下，尽其所能对外
In order to maintain the supply domestically, we'll
为促
also
进疫苗
to
在全
make
球
sure
的
that we have a
公
good
平分配
smooth
和使用，
clearance
促进全球抗疫合作，
to export vaccines in order to make our contribution to the global fight against COVID-19, which also earned the recognition and reputation
保障新
around the
冠疫
world.
苗快速通关。
This year, the
我们
JACC
主
also
动对
issued
接
a
疫苗
bunch
出口企业，
of policies
做好
ensure
出口
a
流程检
fast
和
clearance
全链
at
照顾，
ports, and also we
快速
worked
办理疫
with the
苗生
companies
产
in
必
this
须的
regard.
关键设备通关。 助力新冠疫苗
Regarding the equipment needed to produce the vaccines, we'll also make sure that these kind of the anti-epidemic equipment also kind of go through the ports at a faster speed, and also establish end-to-end tracing platform to shorten the time needed at the port. So far,
由法定的20个工作日缩短为2小时。
we shortened
通关时长
the 8 days needed from 20 days to 2 hours.
保障新冠疫苗
So the clearance total needs just 3 hours.
海关采取多
To
项
make
措施
sure that the port can go through, the vaccines can go through the port in a safer and faster
今
speed
年上半
manner.
年，我国已向
For each one,
112个国家和地区
we have already exported vaccines,
新冠疫苗和原液。
500 million vaccines to 112 countries and
当
regions,
前全球疫苗总产量的1/6， 为全球疫
equaling
苗合
1/6
作
of
和
the
经济复
global
苏
productivity
做
of
出了重要
vaccines,
贡献。谢谢。
making great
今
contribution
天的新闻发布会就到这
to the global endeavor in fighting against COVID-19. Thank you very much.